So it's halfway through the month and I haven't put up my wrap-ups for July, but I went back to my home state to see my nephews. I have a new teeny nephew who's adorable, and my eldest nephew is 5 now, and in that kind of fun, we can actually carry on a conversation stage. And one night he slept over with his aunties, and my dad read him a book he read all the time to us when we were kids called Ira Sleeps Over, which is appropriate because he was sleeping over, where Ira goes on a sleepover and can't decide if his friend is going to make fun of him if he brings his teddy bear. My dad does the best voices. You should hear him read Winnie the Pooh. It is the best. Anyway, what we're supposed to be talking about right now is young adult, sci-fi, fantasy, contemporary, and suspense for July. The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. This was on my YA fantasy TBR that I made like 6 months ago, and I finally got to it. I had no idea what this book was about when I started, but even so, it wasn't what I expected somehow. I won't really get into the story because it's best just to read it, but I will say it was more paranormal than fantasy, really. And holy crap, crazy good. Emphasis on the crazy, but still so good. And I read it all in one day, which is actually kind of unusual with me with YA. Usually it takes me a little longer to get through YA books, but it just kind of grabbed me and made me read it all right away. I'm gonna take a beat though, and then pick up book 2 soon. Alright, I went on with the Under the Never Sky series by Veronica Rossi with book 2 through the Ever Night. I love the first book of this YA series. The second one is about Arya's search for the Still Blue and about Perry's struggles to keep his tribe together and alive. This wasn't quite as good as the first book. It definitely has middle book syndrome, you know, where things seem to wander a bit because there's not really true beginning and end because, well, it's the middle. But I still liked it, and I am looking forward to reading Into the Still Blue to see how it all ends. I tackled another book that was on my mystery suspense TBR, which is The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. This is her foray into mystery, but while this is set in England, do not mistake this for a tea-cozy mystery. It's a hard-boiled PI film noir type of book. And also be warned that the pacing is really slow, but to make up for it, there's J.K. Rowling's just masterful way with words. You can almost ignore the plot in this book and just marvel over her use of words and descriptions. She is a good writer, a very good writer, so I enjoyed reading it. So on my new adult TBR that I just did, I put down The Return, JLA's new adult book. Turns out it's the start of a spin-off series. So before I can even read that one, I have to read the Covenant YA series, so I started on that. You start off with the novella 0.5, which is called Damon. Alexandria has been trained to kill demons, but then her mom yanks her out of school and they go to live with the mortals, so to speak. Then something horrible happens and Alexandria must return to the Covenant. It was a good enough little short story. I will continue on to the first book. It's seeming very Vampire Academy right now for me, but we'll see if it starts to differentiate itself as we go on. Stone Cold Touch by Jennifer L. Armentrout, YA paranormal romance, and the second book in the Dark Element series. I really liked book 1 in this series, but I did not like the prequel novella, so I was hopeful when I got back into the main series and the main story with book 2, continuing on with Layla, Roth, and Zane, and I gotta say, it is pretty addicting. I'm excited to continue on with the series, and I just put a hold at the library on the next book, which just came out at the end of July, I think, and I cannot wait to get it. Ask the Dark by Henry Turner. This is a YA thriller of sorts. I read this book as a favor to a friend whose friend had written this. I received this as an ARC. It's the story of this kid whose family is going through financial troubles, so he's doing odd jobs around town to try to make ends meet. And when you do odd jobs pretty much everywhere, you end up seeing some really strange stuff. And some of it may not be, when you add it all up, quite the right stuff. This whole thing is written from the main character Billy's point of view and put into his specific American dialect. For a first-time author, it wasn't bad, but overall it was just a tad bit boring and a little too caught up in feeling clever about the writing style, and I feel that the story was just a bit weak because of it. It's not a long book, but it just felt like there was only enough story here for maybe a short story, and not even enough for a short book. Have you read an arc you've received from a first-time author and you've actually really liked it? Let me know because I wouldn't mind checking it out.